Hello kindergartners, first graders, second graders, and third graders. It's Mrs. Hilliard here with week 5 of occupational therapy for 2021. It's great to see you today. We're going to jump right in and get started. I have a hand warm-up, a craft and writing activity, and shoe tying this week. So we're going to get started. And this week we want to work on stringing beads. A lot of you guys struggle with stringing beads. It's on a lot of standardized tests, and it's a very important visual motor skill to have. So if you do not have beads at home, you can use a shoelace with some rigatoni noodles, or I think it's rotini noodles, not rigatoni. Not the curly ones, but the ones with a hole in the middle. Or you can use Cheerios or some kind of cereal that resembles Cheerios that has a hole in the middle. So we're going to practice stringing, and we're going to have a little bit of a race in our live session where I will give kids 15 seconds to lace as many pieces of cereal or noodles as they can and see how many they can do. So we're going to get started and lace, push it through. 1, 2, I'm going to do 10. And if you really do a task analysis and pay attention to the muscles and the movement that we use to string beads, you will see that we are using the radial side of our hand. We are using 2 hands together. We are tracking visually from left to right as we string the bead down. And it's just a great skill to have and a great activity to practice for kids who are struggling with fine motor skills. And my older kids love relay races, so it's always fun to turn some of these activities into a relay race. I think I did 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One more. And 10. You guys could work with me. If you want to keep going, you could pause this video. And we are done with our hand warm-up. So we're going to move on to bid number 2, which is our fine motor activity for this week. So cutting, coloring, writing. And this week you will need a scrap of black paper, a piece of brown paper, a piece of green paper, a scrap of white paper, something round to trace, like this is a small paper plate, and then something a little bit smaller. So I have my Theraputty lid. We're going to talk about Groundhog Day, and this is our craft. Just want to show you, we're going to make a little groundhog, and we're going to write Groundhog Day so we can practice our letters, and then we'll write our name at the bottom. And you can see we have a lot of cutting this week and tracing. And then for those of you who are ready for writing, we're going to write a little poem about the groundhog. So why do we celebrate Groundhog Day? I don't know too much of the history, but I do know that for years, Groundhog Day falls on February 2nd, and there's a little guy, a groundhog named Punxsutawney Phil in Pennsylvania, and if he comes out of his hole and sees his shadow and runs back in, that means we're going to have 6 more weeks of winter. And if he comes out of the hole and stays out and doesn't see his shadow, that means that we're going to have spring, early spring. So I am hoping that he comes out of his hole and stays out, because I do not like the cold. So we're going to get started and trace. I am going to get my brown paper first, and I'm going to take my bigger circle. I'm going to make sure that you have a marker too, a black marker. And we are going to put both circles on one page. So make sure you keep your circle off to one side when you're tracing. We're using that stabilizing hand. We're looking at grasp, how we're holding the marker. We don't want to hold it like this. We want to pinch it closer to the tip using those first 3 fingers of our hand. We're tracking visually. We made a circle, and then we're going to make our little circle. And again, we have to use that stabilizing hand just like we do when we write in class. That's bilateral integration. I'm going to get our scissors. Make sure that you're holding your scissors the right way. So if you're struggling, Put your scissors down in front of you, flat on the table. Put your thumb up, turn it upside down, put it in the little hole, and then put the rest of your fingers in the bigger hole. Now, some kids like to leave their pointer out to kind of guide the scissors when they're cutting, and that's acceptable. That's actually, it adds more control, but if you want it for stability, keep all of your fingers in the bigger hole, that's fine too. Now practice opening and closing, and then we're gonna cut on the line. So I always tell kids to kind of watch the top of their scissors, the top of the blade here, and line it up with the line. And we want to make sure that we are turning the paper. And keep turning the paper to go around the circle. This is one of the first shapes we learn how to cut. And we have our big circle. Now we're going to cut our little circle. And if you want to cut off this scrap to be able to control the paper, that's okay. I'm going to cut that little circle out. Slow and steady wins the race. And then when you get really good at cutting, that's when you can cut fast. Otherwise, your paper is going to be all choppy. And once we have that little circle, we're going to fold it in half. So we're going to practice folding in half. And you could do that on the table if you need to. Make a crease. Open it up, look for that line, and we're going to snip on that line. And that's going to be our groundhog's ears. Now with your black scrap, you're going to take one side and cut some really skinny strips of black paper, just 2 for your groundhog's whiskers. And make it nice and skinny. And then we're going to take a little piece of black, about that size, and draw a circle. If you have a white crayon, that works best, but I think a marker will show up on this as well. We're going to make our groundhog's nose. So that's another circle. So we're practicing drawing a nose. So we want to see those fingers mobilizing. We don't want to see people, our students drawing with their shoulder, moving their shoulder. We want to have them move just those muscles in their hand. This should be nice and stable. That's why we work on shoulder strengthening activities all the time, because you need good shoulder stability for good writing. So we're going to cut out that little circle, and it's actually harder to cut out smaller shapes. So some of you guys need to work on that, and you have it as a goal on your IEP, so that's okay. You have the groundhog's nose. And then the last thing you need is that strip of white paper, and we're just going to cut 2 big teeth, so 2 rectangles. So now we have our parts and pieces. And you'll need your glue stick. The first thing we're going to glue is the brown circle, the large brown circle. I can never wind up my glue when it's brand new. It always needs to get loosened up. I'm going to put glue all over the back of our brown circle and stick it in the middle. And we're going to take that circle that we cut in half, and we're going to put on our groundhog's ears. So 1 ear, 2 ears. Some of you guys are working on eyes, nose, mouth. This is actually a reinforcement for that. So ears. And then we're going to do nose. And have his nose. And then we're going to put on his teeth. So his teeth are going to go right under his nose. So I actually put glue on the brown paper right under his nose. And we can put on 2 big teeth. Those groundhogs always have those buck teeth. So that's what that is. And then we're going to take his whiskers that we made. So we want to snip those 2 times. So 1, 2, so that we have 3 whiskers for each side. 1 and 2. And we have all these little skinny sticks of black paper. And we're going to put 3 whiskers on each side. I always put my glue down first instead of trying to put it on a little shape. That's kind of hard. 1, 2, 3. Let's see, I put 3 on one side and then I'll put 3 on the other. You can work on your math skills too. How many whiskers do you have? 3 plus 3 is 6. And then lastly, we're going to draw the eyes. So you'll need a black marker for that. I'm going to practice drawing some circles. Again, look for the mobility in the joints of the fingers and not the shoulder when you're drawing circles. And I always like to draw my eyes as circles and then put a little circle inside, a little black circle inside. And lastly, we're going to write. So you can make a writing line across the top of your paper, and then you're going to copy these 2 words, Groundhog Day, in your best writing. So capital G, lowercase r, O, U, and T. And then we want to work on spacing our words. So I always take one finger, put it down at the end of the word so that I leave a space and write capital D, A, Y. Now for lefties, if you're left-handed, you'll have to cross over to write your words. So we always use a popsicle stick or something called a space stick at school to help kids space their words. And then lastly, we'll write name and a rating line for your name. You can add your name to your work. All great artists sign their work. And to go with our cutting and pasting this week, I have a poem for you guys to write. So you'll need your whiteboard this week, or some writing paper with lines. And I have this poem that I found on the internet. No author. I'm a little groundhog, furry and brown. When winter comes, I sleep underground. I'm curled up as cozy as can be. When it's spring, please wake up me. So you guys can work on reading this too on your own, and I will hold it up so you can copy it in your best writing. Again, make sure you leave spaces between your words and try to make sure that all of your letters bump the writing line. We also encourage starting letters from the top. Some of you guys start your letters from the bottom and draw a line upward. We always like to start from the top for good letter formation. And if you need that high rate paper with a highlighter, you can make that on your own, or you can use graph paper, 1/2-inch graph paper, to space your letters and words. And you can pause the screen if you need more time. Lastly, number 3, shoe tying. So I will do this again in case you guys work alongside these videos. I always make sure there's a hole open at the top of my shoe. And then I take this little plastic end and plug in on each side. You guys are doing so good with shoe tying too. I'm so excited that so many of my students can tie their shoes. Hold up your bunny ears, find the middle, pinch, pinch, not with your whole hand, just your pinchers. Make an X, save that space down below. Take the lace that's behind or closer to your body, push it down through the tunnel. Pull gently, not too hard, because some of you guys pull so hard your laces come out of the anchors or the holes. Pinch the middle again. We got to do it 2 times. Make an X, but hold your laces up a little higher. And make sure you save that tunnel. Take the lace that's behind and push it down through the front. Pinch and pull. You guys tied your shoe. And then if you want, you can take out those little anchors so that it's easier to untie. So I'm going to undo this, and then I'm going to tie using a standard shoe tying method in case you guys want to do this along with the video. So take your laces, hold them up high, big arms, make an X, let them cross, pull them up, look for that crisscross or that X, take the lace that's behind, push it down through the tunnel, pull out to the sides, make one bunny ear, make sure that bunny ear has a nice long tail on it. Tie a knot here if you need to, or put a little black marker dot Take that dot, fly it around that bunny ear and save that space. That black dot will go down through that tunnel. Pinch and pull. And you did it. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate all of your time and effort and always having materials ready. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.